speaking of, one thing I did know that other people had problems with is I did get to also play Miles Morales. I know a lot of people didn't really like his voice actor, or I think some people were annoyed. I didn't think he was that bad. I personally didn't have a problem. What about you?
I
Do
thought it
you?
was fine. I think uh, the voice didn't match the model as well to me. Like the model looked like he was older, and the voice sounded younger. So I think there was a weird juxtaposition for me there, but it didn't bother me. I mean, I thought the voice on its own was fine, especially when you're in the suit. It was just, whatever. I thought his voice acting was good, his delivery was good. I mean, it wasn't something I took major issue with. I just when you see his face and hear the voice, it didn't quite mesh up to me, but.
Mm, Um, yeah. If you guys didn't play this one, this almost in every way has like it feels similar to the previous game. The only thing is everything. I mean, for the fidelity wise, it's definitely a step up. At least I thought. Like I think New York looked better. Like me,
Yeah,
even though the remaster was a remaster, I still think this one looked better. Um,
I'm pretty sure this one was built, I don't want to say quote unquote for the PS5, but they were really kind of touting it as like one of the early PS5 releases.
mm,
And the PS4 version was, kind of the neutered version. And they did the original Spider-Man remaster after the fact. And, that game wasn't built with the PS5 in mind. So anything they added on would have been just that add-on. This one was kind of built with, I think, certain technologies already kind of in place. Probably utilizes like the ray tracing better and things like that. Also, like I think a lot of that game too was set at night. And there was just something about the way New York looked at night. I don't know. I
I
liked
don't
it.
remember. I think so. I think you might be right on that.
I know it
Um,
was Christmas too, and just had a different kind of sheen to everything.
mhm, it was. I don't know. Like this one, I still feel like I enjoyed it, but to me, it was a step down from the previous one. It's weird because we were talking about it before, but like in terms of feel and movement and combat, it's more fluid. Like it feels better. Like I actually feel like Miles swings faster and moves faster than Peter in this one. His combat is also better. He has more abilities, so you
Yeah.
would think the combat would be more entertaining, but I don't know. Like for some reason, I feel like things were more fun in the previous game. Maybe it's hard to explain. Like um, I don't know. Like even though everything felt better, maybe just the narrative was just that much better. That's what I'm focusing in on in my head. Maybe I'm like letting the narrative overwhelm like the feel of the game. I don't know. Um,
Maybe. I mean, I had a bigger gap between the two. I mean, you played them back to
I played
back, so
them
you
back
probably
to back.
noticed the disparity a little different. I mean, I played Spider-Man, the original, close to when it came out. I think it might have been like right when it came out. And I think I played Miles pretty much when it came out. But I mean, there was a good, what, couple of years or so between that, year and a half, I don't know. So I didn't notice exactly. I do feel like Miles had a bigger move set for sure. I think it changed the combat where I think because he had so many extra powers, there were a lot of other enemies that had to be put in place to kind of counteract those powers, and maybe that added just a different, I don't want to say layer to the combat, but maybe a different approach to it that you didn't like as much. I don't feel like I recall it quite as maybe negatively as you did,
Well,
but
it's also
I do remember the experiences feeling shorter, more condensed, not in a bad way. I think at the time where I was playing it, I was kind of glad it was a little bit shorter. Just fit my schedule better at the time, so I had a pretty favorable experience with Miles overall.
well, it's also since you bring it up, it's also a little more disappointing that yes, you have more abilities and more options in terms of what you can do because of his electromagnetic
Hmm.
or whatever it is, bioelectricity, I think it is. But
Yeah.
like, it doesn't help that like you have more abilities and more options, but you have less enemy variety. There's literally only like two
Mm.
types of people you fight. It's the who is it? The Tinkerers people. I don't remember what they were called. And then there is the what was the evil Roxanne, the Roxanne people, and it's just like they're pretty boring. Most of them, both sides either just like they either have shields or I'll show. They either just have right when I do it, Rhino pops up. He's honestly the sections that involved Rhino were some of the best sections in the entire game. Like
Hmm.
the opening scene of you actually getting to see Rhino's path of destruction through New York City is like one of the best scenes throughout the entire game. I feel like as opposed to the previous one, that's what's missing with this one is like the real moments that are like super memorable. Like Miles Morales, there weren't that super memorable scenes for me. Like The rhino
Well,
one.
it's supposed to be a a more intimate, I think, kind of game too, because Miles, early on his spidering career, so I think they wanted to kind of keep the stakes a little bit lower, at least until the end of it. So maybe that's part of it. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know, because I know the original Peter or the first game, his Peter was more established, so you had more enemies to pull from, larger, however you want to look at it. I think they had more to work with there, and they wanted to go a little bigger. So maybe that was an intentional decision. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe like you were saying, because of the length of the game, it just the enemy variety is just lacking as opposed to the previous one. You only deal with what, two of Spider-Man's main villains. I mean,
Mhm.
is Tinker technically a main villain? I mean, I know you deal with
You know,
Prowler, but Prowler you don't. He's one section, and it's like
kind of makes me wonder, like, what this game, if it was maybe supposed to be something else. And what I mean by that is,
DLC.
I'm curious. Well, I'm curious if they originally meant to make DLC for the first game, because I mean it's the same game in so many ways. They just kind of added on to it. It seems like they really wanted a big game, a flagship game for PS5 because it was right at the release, and I think this was really it. This was the only game I think PS5 had when it released. So I'm curious if it was a shift from maybe taking it from DLC and porting it to a full game. Maybe that's where some of the I don't know, lack of variety is kind of coming into play, or kind of the, not expanded story. It just feels like a smaller experience. Maybe because it was supposed to be a smaller experience, at least initially. But I could be wrong. I'm kind of, um, you know, what's what we're saying, kind of speculating here. But I don't know. It kind of feels that way when you look at it in context of the release of the PS5, what you got in the final game, etc.
Yeah. Oh, that's basically all I had to say. I mean, I'm finally done with those two games. I think I mentioned it before. I'm more excited now for Marvel Spider-Man 2 because now we get to see. I mean, they didn't really answer where or gamer. Do you care about small spoilers with Spider-Man?
Not really.
We don't really know where the Venom came from. I mean, is it the same typical? It came from space because
So
somehow.
they do kind of, you kind of know that. See, this kind of annoyed me when they try to make it a big mystery where it came from. I feel like it's at the end of Spider-Man 1. I don't remember if it was like a mid-credit scene or whatnot. They show the Venom in a little tube, like a
Yeah.
little Venom symbiote piece in the tube where Harry Osborn's in like a
Mm-hmm.
big
Yeah.
like sick
Mm-hmm.
tube. So clearly it's synthetic. At
Oh,
least that's
so
my
you think
thought.
they created it and it's not the typical? It came from space.
I think so because I feel like that is. I could be wrong here. I think that's the ultimate Spider-Man kind of origin of Venom. He's a synthetic like cancer cure kind of thing.
Hmm.
I feel like they're leaning on that as probably a way to save Harry. I guess the question is which route do they go as far as Venom's host? I mean, clearly Peter's gonna have it for a little bit,
So I
but
thought
is it
isn't
ultimately gonna grasp onto?
Brock was always supposed to.
Well, it's supposed to be, but it depends on which origin they go with. They've changed things before. It could be Harry. They might forego him being, Hobgoblin or anything down the line, and he could be
He
your Venom.
has to be
I don't know.
Hobgoblin. I mean, at least
It doesn't have to
we know
be.
it moves on to Peter. So you see it in the
Yeah,
so.
I don't know. It'll be fun. I mean, I very much doubt they're gonna drop the ball on Spider-Man 2. Like, if it is even just Spider-Man 1 again with some more stuff added, I'm gonna be
I
more than
already know what's gonna
satisfied.
happen in Spider-Man 2. I can already tell you. Let me tell you. I'm gonna ruin Spider-Man
Uh-huh.
2. Peter is gonna become the ultimate baddie, and Miles is gonna have to defeat Peter at the end. There you go.
I'm hoping they. I don't think they'll go that full route. I think that will be like
In
two
that
thirds of the
trailer, they
game.
show Peter clearly
Well, he'll
becoming.
go bad. I don't think he's going to be the big bad at the end. I think that will be like before you go into Act 3 kind of thing. Because at some point, they have to have Venom. Like, I think they're going to have the point where Peter becomes, all angry, grumpy Peter, and Miles is going to be the one who stops him. And then the symbiote suit is going to go off, attached to whoever, and they both have to take on Venom at the end. Like, it's
Mm,
going to be a Venom ending, I would imagine. In other words, what's the point of having Venom in the game?
mm.
Like, unless they make Peter Venom, which I don't think that can even happen because they already have shots of both Spider-Man fighting Venom. So
Do we
that's
have
my
a
take.
scene of this Peter dancing outside of a club?
We better. One of those hidden outfits better be
The
Peter
suit,
with some emo
the
hair and
Ebo
just.
suit. How come we don't have a pizza delivery Spider-Man suit? There has to be a pizza boy suit.
I do I do miss that from the Spider-Man 2 games. You had like pizza delivery mini games and nonsense like
Was there?
that,
I
but
never played that one, so I didn't know there were delivery.
it was a lot quirkier, like for better or for worse. But that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah.